Let's make a table with this pallet. I am going to begin with using my jigsaw and cutting this pallet in half. That wasn't too bad. Now to cut the second row. And the third row of boards. There you go, one side of the pallet board's cut. Now to flip it over. I have the pallet propped up on these blocks of wood here. All right, to do it all again on the other side. We'll cut the last two rows of boards and then this pallet will be cut in half. So I took a good look at the pallet once I cut it, and I determined that I wanted to cut one row of the boards off to make it the more appropriate height for the end table. This is a much thicker board than what I previously cut, so it's going to take a little bit of time. A circular saw would have cut it much quicker, of course, but because of the boards being there, I had to use the jigsaw. I'm going to turn it over on the other side and do the same thing. Taking some measurements of the side I cut so I can make sure it's going to be pretty close to the same when I do the other side. Now, some of you will probably disagree and have things to say about my woodworking here with my DIY projects, but I am not a professional woodworker, but I'm smart enough to know how to figure things out and make it happen. This is a piece of decking board I had left over that I'm going to put on top of this pallet that's going to be the top of the table, and as you can see, it was pretty level. Now I can use my circular saw to cut this board to the appropriate length. Now we have two pieces, one that we will use and the other we will discard. Now this pallet was sitting outside for a while, as you can tell, but I've got out my sander and I'm going to sand it really well. Making sure to get the tops, the bottoms, the sides, sanding this piece the best I can. I always laugh with editing when I am sanding because when I increase the speed, it sounds like an annoying fly or mosquito. Now to sand the decking board that's going to be the top of our slimline table. I'm thinking about how I can make this narrow table very functional. Using my circular saw to make another cut on another board that's going to be the bottom of our table. The pallet is going to sit on this board here that is our base, and it's going to look something like this. Taking some measurements using my ruler to make sure that the pallet is equal distance on this board from all sides. Okay, I'm going to take the pallet off now. I'm going to put in my drill bit, turning the pallet upside down so that I can put this board, which is the bottom of the table or the base of the table, on the top here so that I can drill some holes and adhere the board with some screws. Let's make some marks where the screws are going to go. First hole drilled, now we're going to put in this wood screw. Starting the screw with my hand and finishing it with the drill. Now drilling a hole on the other side, placing in the screw. Once this screw is in, I will have one screw on each side of the bottom of the table. Now we have to put one more screw on each side, and then the bottom of the table will be done. Yay! Flipping it back over now. Now we have to put on the top of our table. So again, this is that extra decking piece that I had that I cut. Just measuring that the overhang will be symmetrical on both sides. Okay, to make our marks for placement of the screws. making the mark for the second screw on the side. So the reason my hand shakes with drilling is because, as you can see here, I have a subluxed wrist, so I have to take breaks with doing these woodworking projects. So using these poker table drink holders is my Pop and PJ insignia with my woodworking projects. They are so functional. You can use them for drinks, you can put a vase in there, you can put a candle. I love using these on my tables. So in order to add this enhancement to our table, I need to remove the top board so that I can use my hole saw to make a hole for our aluminum poker drink holder. A couple of more screws to remove. And it's off. All right, using my hole saw here to make a hole in our board. Letting her down slow. Now we're going to flip the board over so that we can continue to make the hole. This piece of scrap wood here is just to have in case the hole saw goes through the wood and gets lower than the actual board. And we have a hole. Removing the underboard and then sliding off the board that we just cut the hole in. This is going to work just fine. Now let's bring our board back to the rest of the table so that we can put it on. Check this out. So my thoughts about the color of this table is that I want the top and bottom of the table to be a lighter color stain, and then the body of the table to be stained a black color. I've got my gloves on, stirring the stain with my takeout flatware. I will now pour some of this stain into my recycled microwave dinner containers. They work perfect for this. Okay, let's lay down the stain. Isn't the grain on this wood so pretty? Now to stain the pallet portion of the table black. I think the two colors are going to work very well together. It's going to be a very nice contrast. If you get stain on your fingers, you just wipe it on the wood. So I'm going to use this little wooden box that I purchased at the Dollar Tree and make the phone holder that's going to go onto our table. So we're not only going to have a drink holder on this little table, but we are going to have a phone holder. So it's going to be pretty cool. So here is the one that I've already stained. I had cut the one side off, as you can see here, and the phone is going to rest in there just like this. This slimline end table is going to be so functional. I am going to cut a piece of this aspen wood that I had for another project. so that I can attach this box to it. And then I'm going to attach the wood with the phone holder attached to it onto the underside of the top of the table. Just measuring an 8-inch long piece of this aspen wood so that it will be long enough for the tray for the phone to attach to. Using my square to make a straight line, and then I will use my circular saw to make the cut. As you can see, I stained this piece of aspen wood, and I'm now attaching it to the underside of the top of the table. Putting in the last screw. I will be using this tight bond glue to adhere the phone holder to the underside of the top of the table. Okay, the glue is on the phone holder, so now let's place it onto the underside of the top of the table. Making sure it's equal distance from the edge on both sides. Placing books on top while it dries. Next, I am going to place the top of the table that has the phone holder attached to it on the rest of the table. Now I will need to place the screws back in the top of the table, have them come through just a little bit so that I can make sure that they line up to match the correct holes on the bottom part of the table. Now we will screw them back in. This side done, and now we have to do the other side. So as I'm thinking about and designing this clutter-free slimline end table that's not going to only hold our drinks, our phone, books, but I want it to hold remotes. So that's what this little piece of board I stained is going to do. I will be using 1 1/4 inch wire nails, 2 on each side, to secure the board to the table so that it will support our remote controls. Check it out, nice and level. So here it is, our remote control holder. Stored inside the table so you don't have the look of clutter. In order to make this the ultimate clutter-free with plenty of storage side end table, I knew that I could just place a hook on here and then we will have storage for our keys. And it will look fine because it's going to be on the inner part of the table, like this. So here we have it, the ultimate clutter-free storage solution, DIY slimline pallet wood end table. It will hold your cell phone, and if you don't want to use that little cubby for that, you could put your glasses in there. It will hold your keys. It will hold your remotes. And it will hold books or your computer. And my insignia with my DIY wood tables is using this aluminum poker table drink holder. I am sure you did notice I changed the stain from the spring oak to a red chestnut to match my trim in my home. The drink holder can also hold your phone, a flameless candle, or a vase of flowers. This table rocks and was less than $5 for all of the materials used. So I'm in my favorite chair, enjoying my brand new, slimline, clutter-free, maximum storage table. I love it. It's poppin'.